Hey guys, so I've tried to do this video about 5 times, but I end up crying every single time at exactly the same point. So I'm going to try and get through this video, and if I cry, and it is what it is. So as many of you know, it's Baby Loss Awareness Week, and it's a time in which mums who've lost remember what's happened, or they also raise awareness of it, and raise awareness of talking about it too. And I guess that's why I'm on here today, is kind of to tell people that it's okay to talk about it. When bad things happen in your life, people think that if you put it out there in the public domain or whatever it might be, that you're attention seeking or whatever it might be. But actually, a lot of the time, it's awareness and being able to connect with people who've been through it too. And I think that when I went through it, that was the biggest thing that I realised, is that there were so many people that weren't talking about it. So, I put it out there about my loss, and so many people contacted me saying, you were so brave to do that, and when I went through it on my own. And that is the worst feeling, to think that someone went through that on their own. Because for me, having people to talk to was like the most amazing things. And still, those ladies are on here today, and they might watch this, and still to this day I know that people don't know that they've lost babies, but they were the ones that were there for me. So if you're watching this, then I thank you, because you were the people who got me through those times. Because it's so important to talk to someone who's been through it, because when you talk to people who haven't been through it, and absolutely no disrespect, they'll never be able to comprehend and understand. And the reason I could say that is because I never ever could understand or comprehend that feeling that a mother would have to go through. Compose myself. I'm going to just do that. Every time I do it, I'm going to make a silly joke to stop myself from crying. They'll never be able to understand it. Because it's a feeling you just can't describe. And I know that because I'd seen so many people, and doing the Wave of Light on the 15th and everything, I'd seen it every single year, and I never really understood. I thought it was lovely, and I'd always give my love to people, but I never really understood the depths of the emotions behind that. So I think it's really, really important that people who have lost babies talk about it, talk to people who've been through it, but also understand that it's okay to talk about it, it's okay to discuss it, and it's okay to tell people, because it's a part of you. And when you keep something like that inside, it's just it's such a hard feeling. So I'm going to attempt to take you through like a little bit of like my journey with my loss. Now, it was probably about a year ago, actually, that I had my scan to find out that I was having twins, only to 4 weeks later find out that both of them had died. And it was crazy, because when I found out that it was twins, like, me and my partner were just in absolute shock, and we were even sitting there going, oh my God, we can't have twins, like, what are we going to do? Like, let's hope this, like, it's a mistake and there's only one. And then, like, when everything happened, I was sitting there just wishing that there was two, and that everything was okay. So I went for my scan. I found out that it was, they said, oh, we think it's twins, and they needed to confirm in a couple of weeks' time. But me being me, I couldn't wait. So I went for a private scan. And the previous scan had shown one healthy baby and one what they thought was a twin. And when I went for my next scan, they showed me that the baby that was beating the week before had died, and the other baby was okay. Now, for me, that was like absolute torture, because if they'd have told me that the baby they weren't sure about was the baby that had, wasn't viable or had died, I probably could have handled it. But to tell me that the baby whose heartbeat I'd seen on screen had died, and now I've got a new heartbeat and a new baby, it was so much trauma for me to actually go through just that. And then I had to wait for my next scan, and, just to check that the second baby was going to be okay. And just walking around not knowing whether, well, first of all, knowing that you've got one baby inside you that's died, and not knowing whether the other one was going to be okay, was just absolute torture. Like, I was walking around with a big bump. Anyone who saw me, I don't know what it is with me in pregnancy, I just absolutely balloon. Even with Bear, like, from 5 weeks, I was huge. So I was huge with the twins really, really quickly. So for me to walk around with this big bump and not know what was going on inside it, and people ask me questions or look at me like, oh, look at their baby bump, and I'm sitting there torn apart because I just don't even know what's going on inside my own body. And then obviously I went to my scan to be told, I'm really sorry, but they're both gone. Like, no one can prepare you for that feeling. Like, that moment when someone says to you, you might have seen the quotes where they say, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat. You honestly cannot even comprehend it, because people look at it in two different ways. They're not a baby yet. It's just bullshit, because as soon as you fall pregnant, that person inside you, or those people inside you, resemble a future. And for me, even though we knew that it was going to be absolute, like, you know, our house would have been an absolute rampage, you know, having Bear, who's a crazy toddler, and then the thought of having 2 more newborns, like, we were absolutely shitting ourselves. But in that moment, we just didn't even care, because all we wanted was for our babies back. We knew it was going to be hard work, but we would never have wanted what happened. But as soon as you find out that you've got those babies inside you, you start planning. You plan the rampage. We were planning how every single week one of us would need to go out and have some headspace, because we were going to have 4 kids in our house. So we would talk about how important it was for Dad to go out and have his time, Mum to go out and have her time, and still have a normal life, even though we had 4 children, and 3 of them being under 4 years old. So we had those conversations, we had those talks. So to have that life, as crazy it was going to be, ripped away from you, it was absolutely like heartbreaking. And I went from walking around with this big bump and feeling so proud of my bump, to someone telling me to sign paperwork to tell me what I wanted done with my baby's bodies. Like, how do you go from one day or one week being the happiest person in the world, knowing that you're carrying 2 lives inside you, to signing away what you want done with those bodies? Like, it's just the most heartbreaking thing you can ever go through. It was an absolute whirlwind for me, because I was actually put into theatre the next day. They were going to do it that day, but the next day, yeah, I was hysterical right up until the moment I went into theatre. I was just crying and crying and crying. I guess in that moment you just wish that something would change. You wish that you would wake up and it would all be a horrible fucking nightmare, but you just don't. And I cried all the way to that operating theatre. And it was crazy, because when I woke up and they were gone, I didn't feel anything. I'm not restarting this video. I'm not doing this video again. You don't even feel anything. Composure. See, I've got to think of fluffy unicorns or something to stop myself from crying. It's crazy, because you think back to that moment. But yeah, I was numb, and I was numb for like a week. I generally couldn't feel anything, and that's what I found hard as well. I was like, am I heartless? Why do I not feel anything? Like, actually, it was the trauma. Like, the trauma of going through it is what stops you from having any of those feelings. And I remember connecting with so many mums, and I'm like, why don't I feel anything? And I'm like, it's normal. So I think it's really important, if anyone watches this, that you understand that it's normal to feel like that. It's a level of trauma. You cannot even comprehend your feelings. I remember after a week I started reading other people's stories and learning about other people and their experiences and everything, and that's when I finally was able to let go of tears, because it was almost like for a whole week I was numb. I couldn't feel anything, I couldn't do anything. I just didn't even know what to do with myself. I was just a being. I was just in my house. I had no purpose. I just monged in front of the telly, ate shit food. It was the weirdest couple of weeks of my life, like going through that. But as I said, I didn't cry. I couldn't even cry, and I had to get to a point where I read things and I understood things and I looked at things that allowed me to release those tears. And I think that was really important, was allowing all of those tears, allowing those feelings to come up. Anyone who's ever come to me and said, what should I do? My biggest bit of advice was, do what feels natural to you. So many people say, this has happened and I need to get up and I need to get on with it. Don't ever let anyone else determine how long that takes you. Some people it's going to take a few weeks to sort of go through that process. Some people it's going to take a couple of months. Some people it takes a very, very long time. But it's so important to do what feels right for you. Don't let anyone make you feel that you need to be okay, or you need to be okay about losing your baby, because you don't. It's up to you and it's your feelings. So never let anyone tell you that, you know, it's time for you to sort of get up and get on your feet. It really is up to you. But yeah, I mean, for me, I've got quite a sort of growth mindset. So I knew that if I continued in that way, that I just would have gone to shit, to be honest with you. For the first, I think, 4 months, my brain couldn't even compute anything. It was really, really hard for me. As everyone knows, I'm like in network marketing, I'm in business. I need to know figures, facts, things, everything. And I had this large team that, you know, needed questions answered from me, and I could not compute a thing. I had to literally walk away from my business because I couldn't even explain a thing to people. And that was really hard for me. For someone who is really good in business and knows everything about everything, to actually have a brain that didn't even work, it was insane. Like, my partner would sit and have a conversation with me and I'd just be blank. There'd be nothing there, because it's the most surreal feeling that when you go through trauma, your body and your brain and everything reacts in different ways. And for me, it just shut down. I wasn't me. So in that time, I just took on a little hobby. Like, I did some little crafts. Many of you remember I'd done like little Christmas crafts. And for me, that was my saving grace. Like, that is what saved me, because I couldn't work my business that I loved. I couldn't do that because my brain wasn't working. So the only thing that my brain could do was, you know, put it into crafts. And that was a great distraction for me. Like, it was really nice to throw myself into something and find something to do whilst I was going through that time. And I didn't feel useless for not being able to go to work. I felt like I was doing something and I had a bit of a purpose, which was nice for me. But at the same time, I could be at home and I could go through all the feelings that I need to go through. And that's one thing, is allow yourself to go through all of the feelings. Now, it doesn't just stop. Like, many people think that when someone physically looks okay, that it stops, and it doesn't. And I remember watching an amazing lady, when I was pregnant with Bear, she lost her little boy, and I remember watching her go through all of this. And after a couple of months, I saw her all dressed up and looking absolutely beautiful, and I was like, how does she look so amazing? How is she just getting on with her life? And I guess now I realise that you just end up not having a choice. You have a choice whether you sink or swim, and I guess that's the place that I got to. I thought, okay, I need to pull myself out of this when I was ready to do that. But it doesn't stop there, and I know for her, even watching her looking amazing on Facebook or doing statuses and things like that, it never stopped there, and it never does. Even to this day, there's not a day that goes by that it doesn't go through my brain, or that something doesn't trigger me or something like that. And that's a huge thing, is triggers. So many people come to me and they ask me, like, how do I deal with triggers? And every single person has a different trigger. For me, my biggest thing was scam pictures, because obviously I'd sat in a room and looked at my scan and been told that my babies were dead. So for me, looking at a scam picture was really, really traumatic. I couldn't handle it. And then also seeing bumps that were around my size, like, it was really strange, because bumps smaller were fine, bumps bigger were fine, but bumps around the same size as mine, it really, 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 really got to me. And other things, like seeing people complain about pregnancy, complain about not being able to drink or not being able to wear their glam clothes or whatever it might be, it absolutely infuriated me, because I just wanted to scream at them how lucky they were. But that never stops, and the triggers are insane. I remember during those first few months, people were, it's like the universe was testing me. I woke up and had a scam picture on the top of my newsfeed every single day, and I just unfollowed those people. And sometimes you think, oh, I feel bad for unfollowing them, or I feel bad that I'm not happy with those people, but it's not even about that. It's about what's right for you and what triggers you. So I just went through and I just unfollowed people, or hid their posts for a little while, or if people were really sort of being sort of, you know, angry about their pregnancy and talk about not drinking, or how they didn't feel or look glam, I just deleted them, because I couldn't see it. I couldn't even, I had quite a lot of anger towards those people. I just wanted to shake them and make them see how lucky they were to be carrying their babies. You know, carrying a baby and having a child is the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to you. And even now, like, I have so much respect for a woman and what a woman's body goes through, and like life, like, how does that even happen? Like, people have sex and then this human grows and they become a child, and then next thing you know, they're a toddler. It's absolutely amazing. Like, it's an absolute miracle, and I think it's the biggest blessing that this world could ever have, is to have those babies. So if people were ever disrespecting that or talking badly about pregnancy, I just shut off from it. I can't have those people in my life or around my energy, because to me, they're so lucky to have that. So yeah, like triggers, scam pictures, bump pictures, people complaining, people constantly going on about it. I unfollowed because I just couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch any of it. And I just want people to know that that's okay. Like, I have so many people message me and say, I feel so bad because I don't feel happy for my friend, or I can't follow her posts. And it's about what's right for you. Your friend's never really going to notice if you unfollow them, or if you can't sort of give them all of you that you want to, because they'll understand that you're going through what you're going through. It's not because you're not happy for people, it's because you're sad for yourself, and that's an okay feeling to have. So I guess by rounding up on here, I just want to say that it's okay to feel anything that you feel during this time or that time, or if you're going through it now or been through it in the past. It's okay to have any feelings. Like, I'm nearly a year on, and still to this day, there can be days where I burst into tears. Sometimes at the most random things. I mean, the other day I was just in a dessert shop and someone walked past with a massive bump and I burst into tears. Or the other day I watched a baby born on telly and I just absolutely crumbled. But then other times I can be sat next to a newborn and I'm absolutely fine. So it's okay to go through whatever you need to go through. It's your life and it's your journey, and yeah, handle it how you need to. There is no social norm of how to deal with this. So go with whatever your feelings are, towards this, whatever you need to feel, whatever you need to do, whatever you need to shut off from, or whatever it might be. Allow that. Oh look, my top says be you. So be you and do whatever makes you feel right during those times. So I think I've rambled on for like 17 minutes now. So if you've got to the end of this, well done, and like, thank you. But really I just wanted to make this video to make it more socially normed to talk about something like this and make people aware that this happens to people. And when people go through this, it's the hardest thing that I think anyone will ever have to go through. Like, I've been through some shit in my life, but that tops it all. It's something that you don't just carry with you for those first few months that you're slobbing on the sofa or you're just trying to get through each day. You carry it for the rest of your life. It's a feeling that you will always hold, wondering, what would your child have been like, or what would your children have been like, and you know, what would their faces look like? You just wish that you could hear them say your name. You have so many dreams. I'm going to set myself off again. You have so many dreams for that human. So if you know someone who's going through this, just understand that they haven't just lost a baby or something inside them. They've lost their future, and it's a future that they're never ever going to be able to change for the rest of their life. So if you're going through this, you can reach out to me. If you've been through this and you know you're still sort of struggling, you need someone to talk to, reach out to me. I'm here for you, as I'm sure many other mums would be. But on the 15th of October, let's all light a candle and take part in the wave of light. I now know how much meaning that wave of light has. So I look forward to seeing everybody's wave of light, and I'll be thinking of every single one of you.